Do you reckon that was a trot? Jack, you're right. You've had your head down during the whole game, mate. What's going on?
You know me under 10s basketball team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're a PE teacher. You might be able to give me a hand. So, we've had a few losses in a row now. I'm trying to teach them how to dribble, but they're not getting it. They're not in the game. They're just not doing it. They're doing really well at training, but just they can't get their head in it when it comes to the game. Can't do it.
Yeah, right. Well, tell us about your dribble.
Well, alright. So, it goes like this.
So I've got a straight line of cones used as a point of reference. They've got a crossover between the cones, staying away from the cones. I've told them beforehand that when they're on the left, they've got to use the left hand, and they cross over to the right, we're on the right. They know what to do, and they do it really well.
So, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. You got a few issues.
Can you help me out?
Look, I'll tell you something I learned back in the day.
How'd you do that?
Let's focus. Let's get to work. So, Jack, for your kids at basketball, I want you to try and take a constraints-led approach.
So, what's that?
So, a constraints-led approach is where you apply boundaries to challenge the individuals to find their own solutions to their problem, rather than telling them what to do. And the constraints can be manipulated by three components. So you have the individual, the environment, and the task. First off, I'm going to explain you the individual component. So the individual constraint is based off the personal characteristics of your learner. So examples are height, weight, speed, strength, fitness, motivation, and emotions. For this constraint, you have limited control over, but it's nice to be aware so you've got expectations of your students and where they're at. Environmental constraints are physical variables such as light, temperature, wind, and interactions with your teammates and opposition. Task constraints are specific to particular performance contexts, and this is by manipulating the rules, implements, surfaces, performance spaces, and boundaries. This is the easiest one to manipulate and the one we have most control over. So by manipulating these task constraints, we can direct our learners to acquire specific movement solutions. You alright, mate? You look like you lost a few cattle in the top paddock. What's going on?
I understand it all, but how's it relevant to my dribbling drill?
Yeah, right. You know what? How about you try this?
In the constraints-based dribbling activity, you have players that are split into two roles. You have a runner and a tagger. Aim of the runner is to avoid getting tagged, and the aim of the tagger is to tag the runner. Both players must maintain their dribble throughout the activity. The task constraints have been manipulated. The size of the playing area, the number of players, both players having a ball, and the rule of them having to tag rather than steal the ball. We then progress the activity if the runner is of a higher skill level by adding another tagger and then changing the rule to make it a steal rather than tag.
The difference is the opportunity for learning. In your activity, you give explicit instructions to dribble between cones and what side to dribble the ball, coupled with the static environment being the cones. This limits their learning opportunities. It isn't representative of the game.
So that's why it isn't transferring to the game. In your activity, the environment is dynamic. The opposition is applying pressure. The learners are eventually making decisions about which hand to dribble in, where to dribble in relation to the defense, and how to position their body. It's a greater representation of the game. Ultimately, it's giving the learners more opportunities to learn. You nailed it. You're going to teach me that next.
Maybe next season, young buck.